So I have actually broken my left wrist several times. But I'm going to tell you the most dramatic time that it happened.
Drama.
It's the most dramatic. Because other times it's just like, I think the first time was just like I was playing basketball at summer camp, collided with someone, and then they landed on me after I had braced myself and it broke my wrist. But this one was so I was playing high school football. The team was it was the football town. Like the football team
Well,
was well regarded.
and you're built the way you are. I feel like you have to, by law, try to play football at some point.
Well, actually, when I first signed up to play football, my parents dissuaded me because I was the kid on the t-ball team who was wearing his mitt as a hat in left field. So it was basically like I don't think Rob's an athlete.
I thought you were gonna say they didn't want me to play because they thought I'd like break other people in half.
No, there's the ADHD. They thought I'd get distracted and get hurt,
Which
and
is fair.
ostracize myself socially, which all of which happened. But
Neither here nor there.
beside the point. So I was actually pretty good at football. It was, I think it was it was right before halftime, if I remember properly. And we were trying to score one more goal before halftime, just to get the points on the board and be a little bit ahead. Because it had been a back and forth game up to that point.
Head to head.
Yeah. So we were doing a no huddle offense. And on the very first play, I pop up and the guy in front of me runs at me and I hit him with my hands and I just feel my wrist go wrong. Like there wasn't like an audible snap that I remember. I just remember being like, that's not correct.
Something is wrong.
Because if you looked at my hand, it was suddenly like offset by like an inch
Oh no.
to the outside. It just like the wrist just like rolled and moved over.
So was it like just your ulna or also your radius?
Right at the growth plate is where the snap was. So at the end of the ulna, I believe. So, but we were doing no huddle offense. And we were across the field from my bench. So there was no getting off the field. Even if I had tried, they would have thrown a penalty, and that would I didn't want to make the team mad at me. What's my health matter? So
You were injured.
well. So here's what I did. I kept playing for the rest of that drive for the next 7 downs. I just took my left wrist and I tucked it up under the breastplate of my shoulder pad, and I blocked with one hand.
Dude.
Yeah.
No.
No, but this is team-driven sports. This is what's driven into you. It's not what you feel. You're supposed to be uncomfortable. It's a sport. It's going to
I
hurt.
feel like it's also your personality.
Yes.
Very much.
Yes.
Because you will suffer if it means someone else is okay.
I do not want to let anyone down because I already feel like people hate me, and I don't want to give them a reason to hate me more.
And then everyone proves all the time that they love you with every fiber of your being. And you're like, why are these people talking to
They
me?
lied all the time.
No, no, not the takeaway. Not the takeaway.
I'm either fooling them really good or they're lying.
My precious husband. Anyway.
So finally, I get to the point where we're close enough to our side of the field where I can run off. And the coach is like, "Why are you leaving the field?" And I'm just like, "I think my arm is broken." They're just like, "Oh, okay," and they wave me over to medical.
I guess.
And at this point, I've had the broken arm for probably 8 minutes, maybe somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes between all the plays and getting off the field and everything.
The adrenaline.
Yeah, because you do no huddle, but that doesn't mean that you're just like you don't go every 10 seconds. You give everyone like 30-second breather. You've got a certain amount of time before you run the next play. So we were doing that, but we weren't huddling because we didn't give the other team a chance to huddle and figure out defense. So I'm off the field. I'm sitting on the bench. I'm drinking like a little cup of Gatorade, and they're like, I'm starting to like try and take off my safety gear so we can like look at my wrist because I can see there's something wrong. It doesn't feel good.
That might have been holding it together.
And as like my helmet comes off and everything, the medic goes, "Oh, he's in shock." I'm like, "No, I know exactly what happens." And then someone like is just like, "No," and they show me a mirror, and I'm just like blanched white.
No blood in your head.
Just my body was just in the physical shock, but like
Right.
mentally, I'm just like, "No, I broke my arm. It happens."
Yeah.
You'll say maybe it's a sprain, and I'm just being dramatic. So.
Oh no.
So when you break your arm at a school-sanctioned event, they have to roll an ambulance onto the field and like load you in on the gurney. Like
Embarrassing.
yeah, I'm the center of attention. I didn't like it.
Oh
It was
no.
not my. I was a lineman. I'm not supposed to be center of attention. I don't get my name in the papers. I just show up. I hit a guy in the chest and I go home. And that's everyone says, Rob was there.
Sometimes they hit back and your arm breaks.
He didn't even hit me back. I just hit him weird.
You broke your own
It's
arm
not-
on someone else.
Yeah, I just broke it on him.
And then embarrassment.
Yeah, that would be a better story if it's just like this guy stepped on my arm and broke it, and he laughed at me, and later on I found him and no, it was just like it was just a guy who was there, and it was my job to be in a movable object in front of him, and he was better at being immovable, I guess. So I'm hauled off to the hospital. I'm in the ER, but it's not like an emergency, so I'm mostly just sitting there with a broken arm for 2 hours, waiting
Oh.
for doctors to see me. And then I have to back up a little bit. So on the field, they have a medic. The medic takes my arm, touches my wrist, and goes, "Does that hurt?" And I go, "Yes, it does." I get in the ambulance, and the medic there, the ambulance technician or whatever they're called, touches my wrist. And he goes, "Does that hurt?" I go, "Yes, it does." Get to the ER. First nurse, like, checking me out, touches my wrist. "Does that hurt?" "Yes, it does." Get in the room finally, 2 hours later. Nurse comes in, touches my wrist. "Does that hurt?" "Yes, it does." Doctor comes in, reaches for my wrist. And I go, "Whatever you're about to do hurts. Because the last 4 people already did it. And if you touch me, I'm going to fucking punch you in the mouth." Now, I am a 6'1", 250-pound, still in most of my football gear, metal-looking teenager, but I tower over this doctor. And he just goes, "Fair enough," and he leaves. The nurse comes back with so many painkillers. The doctor's just like, this boy's going to murder me, and I'm not.
Please sedate the beast.
Yes,
Thank you.
because at first they're just like, "Oh, here's some aspirin," but they come back and they're just like, "We're going to give you these pills," and I was like, "Cool." And then I started to feel these pills. They come back and it's like, "We're going to give you a deep tissue shot." I go, "What does that mean?" And they're like, "It has to go in your ass."
Mm-hmm.
They probably
It's
use
your
the
butt.
posterior, so it has to go in the fatty tissue. And like this explains, it's just like you're gonna have to drop trow in front of, as a teenager, in front of your parents who are here taking care of you, and this 20-year-old nurse. You're gonna have to show them all your ass
Oh,
to get
no.
a shot. And I just remember I turned to my parents and go, "This is the best day ever." So they doped me up so high, and like the way that painkillers work, at least the way that these painkillers worked, is I still felt everything, but I couldn't. It was more like I couldn't react. It was a lack of follow through. Because my wrist is broken in the way it is, they have to reset it before they can start bandaging it. So the doctor
Right.
comes back and they put me in these finger traps. So each of my fingers goes in a little metal cage where if you go to pull down, it traps you. And then the way they medically get my arm back in place is he just starts slamming on my elbow. And it fucking hurts. And I'm just like laying there, unable to move, just like, "Stop. That hurts. I'm gonna fucking punch you." Like, I'm
So-
still threatening the doctor.
Like your arm's the jukebox and the doctor is the Fonz.
Yeah.
He just punches it
just
better.
slamming down around the elbow on the bicep to, like, pop it back. Because apparently, like, you just need to get that separation and everything should, in theory, go back where it's supposed to be.
In theory.
So that happens for, I'm assuming it was like 3 minutes, but you're drugged up. Time is, like, meaningless. And then they're wheeling me to the place to, like, get the actual cast put on because it's a different room. And I just, like, I'm out of it at this point. But according to my parents, I was just having, like, a grand old time talking to everyone in the hallway. There was a guy with a head wound and I'm just like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, he's bleeding out the head. I got a broken arm. Just like, "Hey, man, what's up?"
Making friends.
Yeah, just everyone's in the ER, just gonna be my friend. So they wrap me up, and I don't like come to until we're like at the street light down the road from my house, and I've got a cast on that's halfway up my bicep and like down past my thumb, and I've got a lap full of McDonald's that I don't remember
It just
getting.
appeared. The McDonald's fairy just.
I apparently had already eaten a bunch of it because there was a Big Mac box and half a thing of fries, and then there was a milkshake that I remember really enjoying at the moment.
You were
And
hungry.
yeah, at this point, like the game was supposed to end at probably like 1:30 in the afternoon.
Mhm.
I don't think we were home till like 7:30 at night. It just took it ate the entire day because I broke my arm.
Oh,
And that's the most dramatic time I broke my arm, because every other time is just like you go to the doctor, they put the cast on. This one was like a hospital, an ambulance. Like I had to like talk to my team the next day and be like, "Did we win?" Because
and so much embarrassment too.
yeah, I was like as a teen, you feel shame so deeply
Yeah.
about just every facet of your existence, and just
Yeah.
like being the center of attention in all these things was just horrendously uncomfortable.
I would argue that was probably more traumatic than the break itself because you already had a broken wrist before. You already like
I purport the most traumatized person is that doctor who got the fear put into him by some suburban white kid just being like, "Don't touch my wrist." this guy
I
deal
will end you.
this guy deals with like people who are actually like subjects of actual like violence and people who are on drugs, and I just come in as this like angry surly teenager who's just like, "I will murder you." He's like, "Drug that person." Put them on all the pay. He cannot be, if I'm not going back there until he's immobile. Because I have to slam on his arm for like 5 minutes.
Like at that point, because you've been poked by everybody.
Yeah, it hurts. I know what you're going to do. The last 3 people did it. It hurts.
The answer is yes.
You could just ask them, "Did you do the wrist thing?" And they'll be like, "Yes." And he said it hurts. You don't stop doing it. Just give a note. Put a little post-it on that says, "I did the wrist thing. It hurts." Just is that so hard to not do? Like, this thing hurts and you do it to me 5 times before you fix me? It seems like there's an inefficiency in that system that should be addressed.
And we know a few doctors. Now I kind of want to ask, like, is there a reason that everyone needs to test for themselves? Is there a reason that we don't communicate, yes, this hurts? There must be some reason.
I think it's just because in tech we do this thing, like, even if you're like a level 2, level 3 tech, you always start with like, is it plugged in?
Yeah.
Because 90% of the time it's a very simple thing, and people who are level 1s can miss stuff. It's just human. So it's just that thing. It's like, the doctor, obviously, he went to school for 8 years. Like, he's not going to be like, no one's going to tell me that the wrist is broken. I'll tell you the wrist is broken.
So was
And
your wrist plugged in?
no, that was the problem. It was out of the socket.
I had to plug it
just
back
dangling there. I think I finished that season. I think it was like 6 weeks recovery, and then I went back to playing football.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I just want you protected and safe and left alone.
Oh, knowing what I know about football now, I would not, I would go to young me and be like, "Do not play football.
It is dangerous.
Your brain already doesn't work correctly. You're not going to help it."
No, you did football and you did wrestling.
Wrestling was fine for head trauma, though. Like, you're not smashing into each other.
Because it's not like professional wrestling. Like
Yeah,
WWE,
there were no
where it's-
chairs involved,
Right.
and you have to do a death match.
Because that gets traumatic physically for people.
Yeah, anyone who was a wrestler in the Attitude Era has CTE basically
Right.
guaranteed from all the chair shots.
Right. So you were doing more traditional, like Olympic
Yeah,
wrestling.
amateur wrestling.
But yeah, so you've broken your arm multiple times.
I've broken my arm multiple times. I'm better now.
Rock on.
Rock on!